Hello friends, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be chatting with you about my recently finished Closet Core Frank jeans. A few videos back I did a review of the Daughter Judy matchbook jeans that came out at the end of last year, and then just recently Closet Core released their new jeans pattern. So I'm going to chat with you about why I wanted to make it, my experience sewing it, how I found the fit and the instructions, and I can also compare it to the matchbook jeans as well as some of the other jeans patterns that I have made. First, I'm going to briefly just show you the Frank jeans. The reason that I was attracted to this pattern is because it's quite modular, which I think is really smart, and it's something that I haven't seen before. I've definitely sewn jeans patterns that offer multiple views, like a straight leg, a wide leg, etc. But I think this is the first jeans pattern that I have come across where it has multiple views. It has a straight leg, a wide leg, and a barrel leg, but it also has rise options, like a mid-rise and a high rise. And the way that they did that with the pattern pieces is really smart because they've made it so that basically you choose the rise you want and the leg that you want, and those pieces are kind of mix and match. You don't have to print the entire thing for each separate view. I really appreciated that as far as the construction process, and I typically print my PDF patterns at home and tape them together and cut them out. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the construction of the pattern. I want to talk a little bit about sizing. So typically I wear like a US 4. And I think that among the other jeans patterns that I have made, kind of across the board, I typically make a 4. So for the Closet Core Frank jeans pattern, my waist and hip measurement actually put me at an 8 on their chart. For comparison, the waist measurement of the 8 was compatible with Daughter Judy's 4. And the hip measurement for the 8 was compatible with Daughter Judy's 2. My measurements are between the 2 and the 4 for the matchbook jeans, and I made a straight size 8 in the Closet Core Frank jeans pattern. So I suppose that means that Closet Core has a more extensive size range on the lower end of the size range, and it does go up as well into the plus size range. So I do think it's an inclusive size range, and the number on the chart doesn't really matter. I would say that the finished measurements are accurate, so just be mindful when you're choosing your size. It might not numerically be the one that you're used to printing and cutting out. I decided to cut out the high-rise barrel leg. Now, I know that for comparison reasons, I can't really compare a barrel leg to a straight leg, etc., but I'm just going to share my experience with this pattern, and in the future, if I try like the mid-rise straight leg, I can talk about that as well. The reason that I wanted to make the barrel leg view is because I have a lot of like slightly curved, barrel-shaped elastic waist pants. I've made many pairs of Emily Lightly's fray pants in the curved view. I recently made the Allotment Clothing potting pants. I really enjoy kind of a slight barrel, tapered, curved leg. Not an exaggerated horseshoe shape, nothing like really extreme, but just the shape of like a slight curve out and then a taper at the bottom with a little bit of a crop, I think is really flattering on me. I think I'm quite rectangular, my body shape, so I like playing with adding a little bit of curve in the leg. I think it is very comfortable, and as I said, I have probably half a dozen pairs of that silhouette with an elastic waist. So I was very intrigued to try like a full hard pant with a zipper and a button fly. And I was curious about this pattern as well because it has a dart at the knee that creates that shape. I know when I was sharing with you guys that I was interested in this pattern, I got a couple suggestions of like, why don't you just take the fray pants leg and kind of merge that with a jeans pattern that you already have. I could do that and mimic the curved shape, but I wasn't sure how to construct the leg shape in such a way that when I made that dart, I would get the barrel shape that I wanted. So I figured it was worthwhile to just try this pattern. And because it also comes with the straight leg, the wide leg, and the variety of rises, I thought it would be a useful addition to my pattern collection. and I am glad that I tried it. The fabric that I used is either a 12.5 or a 13 ounce denim from Nick of Time Textiles. At one point they were having a sale and I ordered like 3 cuts of their raw made for Wrangler 100% cotton, and they were all either 12, 12.5 or 13 ounce. I've already used the lightest, so this is either a 12.5 or a 13 ounce. They weren't labeled, but quite a substantial denim. I would say it's quite stiff. I did pre-soak my denim, but it is quite a stiff raw denim, so I know that it's going to relax more with wear. I did want to mention that when I printed the pattern at home, the number for the pages, when you look at the digital PDF file, is kind of grayed out, and it looks like it's behind the pattern pieces themselves. So like the lines for the pattern and the notches and the information on the pattern piece. But when you print it, that grayscaled number came out like solid black. And I couldn't figure out a way to adjust. That's just what it printed out as. I couldn't change the settings to get those large numbers to kind of be the grayscale that they were on the digital file. And that's a little bit frustrating because in places the solid black numbers covered up the lines of the pattern as well as the information on the pattern. And of course, I had the digital PDF to reference if I wanted to read the text that was covered up by those large numbers, but that was a little bit strange. And I think that's the first PDF pattern that I've printed at home where that happened. Aside from that though, the pattern instructions are really good. I have made the Closet Core Jenna shirt before. It's one of my favorite button-up shirt patterns. And I can say that compared to a lot of other indie pattern companies, their instructions are really good. They have really good illustrations. A lot of the steps have links to video tutorials for some of the more involved steps. I think this jeans pattern would be approachable to a beginner because the instructions are very well written, they're very clear, and the fact that there is video support, they also offer courses as well. Like you can purchase with the pattern basically a step-by-step video instruction. I didn't do that because I am pretty confident at sewing jeans at this point, but it is a really good resource if you are a beginner. Because I mentioned the course, I do also want to mention that Closet Core works on a subscription-based model, and that's not something that I'm typically supportive of or interested in because I like to be really intentional about patterns that I purchase, and I'm at a point where I have a collection that's pretty fleshed out, and so I'm not interested in getting a new pattern every month that I don't know what it is ahead of time. That being said, if you purchase the month that the pattern release happens, I think it's $14 US that I got this pattern for. After that, you would either have to purchase the year's worth to get the backlog, or I think they're going to start releasing individual patterns outside of that subscription model, but they will be at a higher price, probably like 18 or 20 US. So part of the reason that I purchased upon release was because I knew that after February, it would either cost more to get this pattern or I would have to buy into that subscription model. So basically I just purchased the pattern and then canceled the membership because, as I said, I'm not particularly looking for a new pattern every month. I have a lot of patterns, so that's something to keep in mind. I think that the way that they construct the fly was really interesting. As I said, I've made, I think, half a dozen, if not more, pants and jeans patterns, and I think all of them have constructed the zip or button fly differently. This particular method for the Frank jeans resulted in a really clean, well-finished, well-constructed fly. It was easy to follow the steps and the result was very clean. So I did appreciate the fly construction. The waistband does have a little bit of a curve to it, which I think sits really comfortably on the body. Having made other high-waisted pants before, I do think that the high rise of the Frank jeans is not as high rise as, say, like Anna Allen's Helene jeans. Those definitely sit like natural waist, I'd say a good inch or so above belly button. The Frank jeans, for me, the top of the waistband sits like at my belly button. So their mid-rise some people might consider it like a lower rise. I think that the high rise, it covers my belly button, but it sits like right at my belly button. So it's not as high rise as some of the other patterns that I've tried. I think because I've made so many pairs of elastic waist, barrel, curve shape style of pants, Somewhere in my mind, I've associated a curve or a barrel leg with a relaxed pant or a relaxed fit. I think I was a little bit surprised at the initial fit of the Frank jeans being quite close fitting at the waist and the hips. Obviously, the leg is quite relaxed because of the shape of the leg. But at first, when I first tried the pants on, before I had even attached the waistband, I kind of thought to myself, oh no, I think they might be too small. However, I proceeded because I knew my measurements and I knew the finished measurements and I knew that they should fit. So I went ahead and attached the waistband, and I will say that I think they fit as intended. I think that the finished measurements are accurate. And I think objectively speaking, if I look at myself wearing the jeans, and I'll put clips in here too, I do think they fit as intended. I don't think they're too tight, but they are a close fit across the hips, which I've been wearing a lot of relaxed jeans and pants recently. So I think my initial response was just that I haven't been wearing really close fitting pants, but I do think they fit as intended. I don't think they're too small. And most importantly, while they are quite fitted across the hip, the waist is not too small, which drives me crazy. I cannot get behind a waist that really cinches. The waist is comfortable, and the curve, from center front to center back, some people call it the saddle, that curve is not too tight. So the 2 points where I would deem something to be uncomfortable are not. Those are both very comfortable. This style of pant is just quite fitted across the hips, and I think that's intentional. Before making the pants, just looking at the product photos, they do look quite fitted across the hips. And something else to note is I think the pocket bags are kind of small. And while I was sewing them, I noticed that physically the pocket bag pieces looked a little bit smaller than some of the other pocket bags of jeans that I've made. But also going back and looking at those product photos, none of the models have their hand fully in the pocket. It's all just kind of the fingers that are in the pocket. And I think in part that's because they are quite fitted across the hips, but also I think the pocket bags are a little bit small. So if I were to make these again, I might consider making the pocket bags themselves a little bit bigger, just because I like to get my whole hand in there. And I can, but again, they're quite tight across the hips, and I know that that's going to relax with wear, and I know I used kind of a heavier, more rigid denim. But as I said, if you look at the product photos in a variety of fabrics and sizes of models, none of them have comfortably their whole hand in the pocket. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, the back patch pockets. This is the first time that I've seen that pattern piece have a curve to it. So typically jeans patterns are quite square. The sides are quite straight, and then there's a little point at the bottom. And that's true for the outside of the back pockets, but the part that's closest to the center back is curved. I imagine that's to be more flattering or accommodating to the natural curve of your body or something, but it's something that I just hadn't seen before. It doesn't bother me. I do think they look good across the back. My overall impression is that they were easy to sew. The instructions were good. I think the size chart and the finished measurements are accurate. Do be mindful when choosing what size you make. It might be numerically different than other pattern companies, so just pay attention to the finished measurements as well as the waist and hip. You might be making a size that you haven't made before, because I think their chart is shifted a little bit to give more sizes on the smaller end. I am very pleased with the result. I think that they fit very well, and they are comfortable despite being a close fit across the hips, which I do think will relax. So going forward, because the silhouette that I kind of envisioned in my mind for whatever reason was a bit more relaxed, I might be curious to try sizing up. I think if you wanted these to fit in a kind of lower slung, relaxed way, going up a size on the size chart, you would still have a very well-fitting pair of jeans, just with a little bit more ease if that's what you're going for. And if you're someone that likes a closer fit, I would say make the size that's true to you on the size chart. That being said, I think I was really initially attracted to kind of the ecru off-white color that the model is wearing in the product photos on the pattern. And I think if I were to do a white or a cream pair, I probably would size up, because with a lighter color of fabric, I would like to have a little bit more ease. In particular, if I wanted to wear it in like the spring and summer months, I would probably go up 1 or even 2 sizes to get a little bit more of like a lower slung, relaxed, breezy fit with a lighter color fabric. I don't really want a tight fit with a lighter color fabric. But I'm going to wear these and see how they relax with time. I know from experience, because I've used this particular denim before, it will give. And I probably will have like another inch of ease in the waist and the hips. I just know from working with this denim and making jeans out of it before, I'm going to have another inch of ease probably with sitting and squatting and walking around. You know, they are going to relax. So I'm happy that I made my true size to kind of get an initial idea of the pattern. I think the length is great. I'm 5'7" for reference, and I didn't make any adjustments to the sizing or the inseam length at all. I just wanted to see how the pattern came out with no modifications. And I do think the fit is good. Waist, hips, and length, it all worked out really well for me. I think they might draft for 5'6", but absolutely no problems at all. I like when the barrel leg shape is a little bit cropped. I think if you go too long with it, you can kind of lose that curve shape a bit. So yeah, I'm happy with the length. And I will say, I've said it before, but I do not interface the waistband of my jeans. I like when the waistband is able to relax with the rest of the pants. In the past, when I have interfaced waistbands, I have found that the waistband does not relax at the same rate as the rest of the pants. So I like when everything kind of relaxes and then shrinks up with washing and then relaxes again at the same rate. I find that to be the most comfortable. To quickly compare, I would say stylistically, as well as fit-wise, they are quite different from the matchbook jeans. And I didn't make the mid-rise straight leg view. However, the high-rise is not super high. So I probably would make the high-rise again if I wanted to do the straight leg view. I'm not a huge fan of a lower than belly button fit, and these sit like right at my belly button. Also because they are quite fitted. I think if you have a really close fit that is a lower rise, you can kind of get some, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of a low rise that's a close fit. I think if I were to make a lower rise pant, I would want them to be quite baggy. And these jeans are designed to be quite closely fitted through the waist and the hip. So I don't think I would be interested in making the mid or lower rise. I think right at the belly button is like a very comfortable place to be. Knowing that the top bit is modularly placed on the other leg shapes, I know how the top would fit and the leg shape would just be straight or wider. Does that make sense? So like the waist and the hip fit would be the same. The Daughter Judy matchbook jeans are intended to be much more relaxed through the waist and the hip, and they are going to sit a little bit lower because there's a lot more ease built into the pattern. I think for the waistband to finished waistband, like the body waist measurement compared to the finished waistband size, there's much more ease built into the matchbook jeans, which I really enjoy, but it is a very different style. So if you are someone that was kind of put off by the generous ease and the little bit of a drop crotch of the matchbook jeans, I would say maybe try the Frank jeans because the intended fit is much closer to the body. And I would also say if you are interested in like Anna Allen's Helene jeans, those are similarly fitted through the hip. It's a close fit, but the waist, I would say, is another inch higher. It's like a really high rise, and the waist is more closely fitted for that, straight size on the Helene jeans. It's like a really high rise, really cinched in fit that I know isn't super comfortable for everyone, especially if you're wearing them seated a lot. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. I really like these pants. I'm wearing them today. I just finished them yesterday, so I will be sure to put some clips in of me wearing them. I think the fit is exactly as was intended. They are very comfortable, and I do think I would make them again, and I might size up just because I like to have a relaxed fitting jean, but it is also nice to have a pair that fits really well. So for what it's worth, hopefully this was helpful. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments below. Feel free to ask me any questions in the comments below if I missed anything, or if you have any specific questions about the pattern, or yeah, let me know in the comments, and I will chat with you guys in the next one very soon. Bye.